UK Prime Minister, clone of Tony Blair, fluffer of Klaus Schwab, befriender of Ukrainian lads, and Zippy from Rainbow.
Hello, it's breakfast time. I'm really hungry.
Has announced the worst kept secret in British history. Digital ID is going to be made mandatory. Ooh, let's hear him announce it. I bet he's tough.
Let me spell that out.
Let me spell that out. Ooh. Go on, show me how alpha you can be.
I said I'm really hungry. Where's my breakfast?
Sorry, I interrupted. Go on then, do this big alpha announcement then, Keir.
Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
Nice hand symbols there, son. Actually, it's not as simple as that, I'm afraid. The people don't want it. The people aren't having it. No matter how much you try and gaslight them, no matter how much you try and say it's going to stop the boats, we all know it's nonsense. Even the media is questioning you on it.
One of our viewers got in touch and wanted us to ask this question. Russ Brown wanted us to ask you if you really believe that those profiting from human trafficking will think, oh dear, I have to check your digital ID now. I can't carry on paying you £1.50 an hour to work in my sweatshop.
I am absolutely convinced that amongst the reasons that people travel through France, which is a safe country, to come to the United Kingdom, amongst the reasons is because it's easier to work in our illegal economy than it is in other countries. And we have to deal with that.
Bosses who are prepared to hire people illegally are not asking them for their national insurance card. So what's the evidence? What makes you think they're suddenly going to ask them for a digital ID?
We need to be really clear. You must have ID, mandatory digital ID, in order to work, because we have to stop illegal working. If you look at any of the raids, we've massively increased the number of raids on working premises. It is absolutely clear that people are working illegally in numbers.
But why do you think that them having a digital ID, having to have a digital ID, would stop that problem when right now people are meant to have a national insurance number and card, and if they're not asked for that, a boss is willing already to break the rules? What's the difference going to be?
Well, the difference is this is on point of starting, not a retrospective exercise as it now is. It is an automatic collection of the information by the government, so we know exactly who is working in our economy, and it will help us enforce the rules that are there. But there's no point people saying to me, why do we need it, when we all acknowledge there is a problem. People are working illegally in our economy. It is...
Right, doesn't answer the question, obviously, because politicians never do. Deflects off to talk about raids. No one asked about raids, mate. But the takeaway for me at the end of that, apart from the fact that he ignores the question because he can't answer the question, because if he answers the question truthfully, cat's out the bag, is there's no good people coming to me and saying, why do I need this, when we all agree there's a problem. What? But that's not going to solve the problem. That's why they're asking. That's a ridiculous statement. I don't see why people are coming and asking me why I need to buy a Ferrari when we all agree that there's people coming over and working illegally. Not related. What are you talking about? The question is, why do we need one? Because that's clearly not about that, is it? Tony Blair. Let's move on. Let's get more lighthearted. Tony Blair, what a goblin. He obviously has got his hands all over this, his fingerprints, his digital ID, all over this. He's working with Oracle, a guy called Larry Ellison, who's a really nice guy, actually. He basically owns everything, including TikTok now. And he's kind enough guy to donate $16.5 million to the IDF, obviously, which is lovely because they murder children for sport. So I'm sure he's not dark and demonic. What does he say?
Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
Tell us a bit about what, because you're right at the forefront of this revolution, what it means for what government should do in terms of its digital infrastructure, digital ID, data centers, and so on.
Why does he turn into Stevie Wonder at the end there? Go on then, let's see what Larry says about this then.
First thing a country needs to do is to unify all of their data so it can be consumed and used by the AI model. You have to take all of your healthcare data, your diagnostic data, your electronic health records, your genomic data. And in the Middle East, in the UAE, for example, they're incredibly rich in data. They have a lot of population data. The NHS in the UK has an incredible amount of population data, but it's fragmented. It's not easily accessible by these AI models. We have to take all of this data we have in our country and move it into a single, if you will, unified data platform.
So there you have it, a one-stop shop basically. Where you go, where you spend your money, who you talk to, what your social media activity is like, all of those things. But also, as Larry points out there, your health status, your health data, all of that stuff. Now, when people come back and they go, well, I don't see why people are worried about this. I don't see why people are opposing this. All right, goldfish brain, do you not remember that they used your health status in terms of whether you were vaccinated or not in an attempt to exclude you from society? So they've already done that in the last 5 years. You're telling me they're not going to pull that one again in the future? Of course they are, and that's the point. That is the point. This is about control. It's nothing to do with stopping the boats. It's nothing to do with making a fairer society or minorities better off, which is apparently what Bill Gates thinks it is. And Bill Gates is a really nice guy as well, isn't he? It's also about finances. So let's have a look at that.
The World Economic Forum envisions your digital ID in the center of your life, essential to accessing modern financial systems and tightly interwoven into today's monetary trends. If the state knows who you are and what you do with your money or with your finances, it allows you to function. The digital ID is a key pillar in Agenda 2030.
The UN estimates that 10 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals cannot be met without first closing the identity gap.
Regulators and financial institutions favor certain instruments over others these days, from tokenized assets and deposits to stablecoins, CBDCs, KYC Bitcoin, ETFs, strategic Bitcoin reserves. All are at play in various stages. Cash, non-KYC Bitcoin, that's less appealing to the state. So as long as you're identified and the relevant institution grants you permission, you're good to go.
This is what it's all about, folks. It's all about control. It was the same with the whole COVID stuff. It was never about a virus. It was never about protecting Granny. It was never about any of the things that they said it was about. It's about controlling the population, controlling what you say, where you go, what you spend your money on, whether you have the ability to earn money or not, whether you can function in society or not. All of that stuff all comes down to this. Now, all of these draconian things that they want, all of these proper twisted visions of the World Economic Forum, whether it be your health data, whether you're vaccinated or not, excluding you from society, or whether you consume too much carbon, you eat too much meat. They've already said right there on the stage at Davos that they will be able to apply to your digital ID your carbon footprint. So suddenly you're going to go into Tesco's with your digital ID thinking you're a good little boy or a good little girl, and you're going to go and get a rump steak. No, sorry, computer says no, mate. I'm afraid. And people think it's too far-fetched. It's not. Just look at China, mate. This is the plan for everywhere. And also, they always tell you. This is what frustrates me the most when people go, well, what makes you think that they'll do something like this with it? Because they tell you. They tell you all the time, mate. And it gets more twisted than that as well, folks.
They are now pushing wearables on the population and starting with external wearables and then going into internal wearables in the future. We do know as well, Gates Foundation funded what's called microneedle patch implants that install quantum dots in skin for about 5 years for use as vaccine passports. Again, this is on the National Library of Medicine website. So yeah, the plan appears to be going from external wearables, get them to wear that, and then you go into the internal wearables, these implants.
These are the same psychopaths. Bill Gates here, this isn't Bill Gates, the local nutcase who lives in his mum's basement and sits on the internet and writes everything in caps lock. This is a guy that's meeting with presidents and prime ministers, including our own prime minister, not that long ago either, folks. He's got the ear of all of these people that are making decisions that affect every single one of our lives. Digital ID is the hill to die on, folks. I know I keep saying it, but honestly, it's the thing that holds everything together. You've got all these harebrained schemes, all these twisted ideologies, all this stuff that they want. That, in my mind, as an analogy, these are pizza toppings, folks. These are pizza toppings. Without the base, you've basically just got a really messy kitchen. They need the digital ID. They need that as the pizza base to fit all of this stuff on. None of that works without the digital ID. That's why they're trying to push it on us so hard. Please don't be gaslit. Please don't be gaslit into believing that you're in the minority if you oppose this. You're absolutely not. We need to come together, folks. And trust me, same with COVID, because it's the same play. 5 years later, it's the same play. If you say, I don't want a digital ID, but, or I don't want a digital ID unless. If there's a but or if there's an unless, you're going to get one, mate. Because they are going to make it difficult for you. They are going to make it spicy. And you need to stand up and stand there and say, do you know what? I'm not having digital ID. Full stop. That's where that ends. That's a sentence in itself. Because if you go, I'm not going to have a digital ID unless they make it difficult, go and get one then. You may as well order one now, sunshine, because they're going to try and do that. We need to stand together as one. And trust me, we are the many, they are the few. It's the hill to die on, folks.